An Anti-War Guide 1. Chapter 1. We Fight for Greed and Ego. We Can Do Better Than War 1. Mark Twain was the first American activist who campaigned against a war. He campaigned against the American-Spanish War, which supposedly started because of an explosion on the USS Maine in Havana Harbor in Cuba in 1898, which some people say was fake. They call it a false flag operation, an action taken to secretly produce a certain result. They say that the Gulf of Tonkin incident that got United States officially into the Vietnam War was fake. Americans accused the North Vietnamese of attacking their ships, but it never happened. It didn't matter. They say it did. The media was beating the drums for war, so it happened. War is good for business for some people. The fact that it causes death and destruction is irrelevant to the people making money from it. Anti-war in the modern era probably started in a significant way with General Smedley Butler's 1935 book War is a Racket. War is about one thing. Somebody wants to take something from somebody else. They want something for nothing. Has any war ever been fought to bring freedom and democracy to a group of people? The American Revolution was a plot by a few wealthy landowners to stop paying taxes to their overlords. It had nothing to do with freedom for the common man. They were already free. They had no money. They had nothing to lose in taxes to the British. Just a few wealthy merchants did. These wealthy merchants were smart enough to create flowery dialogue to rouse the peaceful farmers and working people to join their fight. Behind the scenes, most wars are phony fronts for a few elitists trying to get more power and money. Some wars seem real, like the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, but at heart they need a few instigators with money to put out the propaganda and get people to join up. We were led to think in history class that a bunch of good people were pushed to the edge by evil people trying to collect taxes, but in real life, most people keep working and living every day. Very few want to risk their lives going to a war. Edward Bernays, in his Propaganda book of 1928, brought mass deception to the modern age. Eric Blair, aka George Orwell, wrote the novel 1984 about total control of the human race after working for the BBC during World War II. He realized it was a massive lie to get people to fight for the few elitists that masterminded the war. Wars are tied into the world banking system, which is controlled by a few elitist bankers who always want more and are not above starting wars in order to create money out of nothing like they always do and lend it to all sides who will have to pay it back with compound interest. There are dead people in every war who are soon forgotten, but the debts aren't. The war profiteers make money and never get in harm's way. That's what's really going on. All that stuff about fighting for freedom and democracy is a smokescreen to try to rouse the masses to erupt into some kind of manic patriotic fervor so they'll risk their lives fighting for a few fat cats. After all this fighting up until now for freedom and democracy, the world should have been a utopian paradise where everyone is taken care of from the bounty of the planet 10 times over by now, but we're all a bunch of wage slaves controlled by a few elitists pay taxes for what if a country is supposed to be sovereign and create its own money? It should have no need for taxes if it creates its own money. What kind of crap is that? There is only one planet Earth. All those countries that a bunch of people created are imaginary lines drawn around planet Earth with all those silly laws. Then they come out with propaganda for every one of the 200 or so countries saying we're cool, we're the best, we love our country. Those border security shows show customs clerks hassling people for nothing who want to travel around this great planet. It all adds to the mix of the mess of the human race that some enlightened people have to fix. Imagine if we had spent the money and used the energy that we spend on the military to add to the progress of the human race? The Cold War was a marketing term created by a rich business investor Bernard Baruch in a speech on April 16, 1947 to sell the military industry to the people and the politicians so that they would fork over the money without questioning it. Create fear and offer a solution to stop it. It's called false flag operations or Hegel's dialectic. Decide exactly what you want to do as the ruler, of some entity, then create conflicts and situations to get the people to demand that you do the exact thing you always wanted to do, with the advantage of making them think that they decided on it themselves. This is not just fraud. It's a crime. Many people died to keep the war industry afloat, and it's happening right now. NATO should have been disbanded a long time ago, but now they're looking to start a new Cold War with Russia and say they need help. They sent 500 Canadian soldiers to Latvia. Canada doesn't need a military. It has never been attacked ever. Somebody said every American war started as the result of a false flag operation, which means somebody created a phony incident to get Americans to support a war. Even Pearl Harbor was a false flag because the Americans abandoned their Japanese ally from WW1, then put an economic blockade around them, cutting off oil, making them desperate to make a move against their oppressor. They knew the attack was coming but let it happen because they wanted to get public opinion to support the war. Many people died in World War II, which was the start of a Cold War between communism and capitalism. The Marshall Plan was a way to expand American interests into Europe. The Americans and Brits plundered the people of Greece and Italy, putting in autocratic rulers because these people wanted democracy. They didn't trust them. They called them leftists, communists. At the time, they didn't want to chance anything compromising the Middle East oil routes into Europe. This is what Noam Chomsky said in one of his talks. Listen to some of Dave Emery's stuff on YouTube, or listen to stuff about CIA economic hitmen to see what's really going on. Ronald Bernard says the Bank for International Settlements rules the world as an autonomous authority. The two UN stooges, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, are geared to go to needy nations and offer them money so they will indebted to the point they can't pay it back. At this point, the elitists get to plunder their resources. This is the basic plan. War is simply economic conquest. It's a part of ruling the world through money. It's all about imperialism. They did the same in Indonesia and the Congo, all to keep the big companies expanding their reach. The world went from Greek domination to Roman to British to American. Why can't we simply let people live their lives locally unhassled by anyone else? Why can't we give everyone a basic income? There are enough resources for everybody if we were equitable about it. I spent the first 8 years of life living about 4 blocks from a big naval base, CFB Halifax, which is about half a mile away from a homeless shelter where I used to see the downtrodden guys hang out on the street in front of it. I'd see the military helicopters fly around at night from my bedroom window and wonder what were those assholes doing, wasting the people's money since there was no war on. I couldn't understand why we wasted all this money on a military force in a time of peace when there were no wars, while we let people go homeless. Why do we accept this state of affairs? Local people make money off the military base, but it ultimately adds nothing to the positive production of the human race. We'll never evolve until we get rid of all this military stuff and replace all this energy on creating positive progress. Imagine if we had used all that effort in creating war technology to create technology to help people live better lives. We would have free energy machines by now. We would probably have air cars by now and high-speed trains crisscrossing the land. We would probably have free healthcare and age extension nanotechnology to keep us all healthy to 100 years old, but instead we got little groups of assholes thinking they're hot shit, manipulating us through propaganda, creating wars for their own greed and ego, telling us we're fighting for freedom and democracy, turning our homelands into police states, and we're a bunch of suckers who take it. We could unite, rise up very easily, get rid of them all and rule ourselves through online voting. It would end a lot of the evil. We can do better than war too. You don't help people by bombing the crap out of their county. If you do that, you create people who hate you. They become freedom fighters, what you call terrorists against you. Why did the Americans go into Vietnam? Ho Chi Minh quoted the American Declaration of Independence in the Vietnamese Document of Freedom, but the imperialists had to bring them down to send a message to other Asian countries. Don't try to be independent of the big, bad West. The Viet Cong kicked the French out. The Americans needed a war to test their new weapons. They destroyed that country. The Vietnamese people just wanted to be free. What are the Americans doing in Iraq? The exact same thing: phosphorus bombs in the second siege of Fallujah and psychotropic drugs on prisoners in Guantanamo. The Americans dehumanized the Vietnamese by calling them gooks, then dropped napalm on them. They dropped more than 3 times the bombs dropped in all of the Second World War on Vietnam. Vietnamese peasants were mostly poor Buddhists. Anybody who has these things done to them has to be pretty strong to not hate the oppressor. It's not just the bombs. It's the hate, the evil, the demoralization of the human race. While some cigar-chomping right-wing generals think they're cool and the military contractors salivate over all the money they make over the dead bodies of helpless, innocent people. I find it really sad how the mainstream American media whitewashes the evilness of its government and military and has Disney-like celebrations on July 4th. Somebody has to have the guts to end this. The people have to unite, bring in online voting as a part of the government structure, then vote the military, the CIA and the NSA away and use that money to build a great noble nation. If the American people don't do this, then they're a bunch of lowlife, brainwashed pigs for letting those evil scoundrels run their government. You're not free. You're a wage slave. Why do you pay income taxes to a country that's supposed to be sovereign and has the power to create its own money? The United States of America is not free. It doesn't represent freedom. They're arrogant bullies who think they're entitled to run the world. They're not. What goes around comes around. Someday a bunch of people are going to get together and gang up on the bully. They're already doing it. We can't fight the Yanks with bombs. They got it in spades over us, but we can know the truth and deep in our hearts hate this enemy that pretends it's good. End the bombing. You can't. There are too many evil people running America. The people are too lazy and scared to fight them. Keep them pacified with silly TV shows, silly internet, etc. John F. Kennedy said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Enough good people have to unite and take their country back from its evil government structure of phony representative politicians and its evil agencies. Right now, Homeland Security, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the police and the military are stripping away the freedoms of the American people towards a police state. They think they're at a point where they're a police state, they can neutralize any and all dissenting voices by quickly shutting them up, but people will only take so much. At some point, the people will get tired of the abuse, and the system of government they now have will be replaced by some kind of online voting system. All evil empires eventually fall. The people of the world will not accept a bully on the world scene. I have great hope for veterans, Christians, and all people from the other religions. Most vets know the truth. Religious people are supposed to fight the evil in the world. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Buddhists should unite and get rid of the two political houses, the House and Senate, which are both corrupt beyond reason, then replace them with a system of online voting, bill by bill or idea by idea. The current system doesn't work. The proof is in the fact that many people are poor, homeless, unemployed, and in debt. We can create a government that gives everyone a guaranteed income and free health care. After all, the government is supposed to control the money, not the Federal Reserve. Do the right thing. Kick the evil people out. We need action. Don't try to be too intellectual or too complicated. Keep the message simple so the masses of people can understand and get on your side. We have to erase our racial and cultural differences to unite to change our countries from phony democracies to true democracies where we, the people, rule ourselves online. Moral courage is rare. Get guts. Silence is complicity. Don't listen to their lies that we're under threat from an outside boogeyman. The real boogeymen are the people running the government, the military and the security agencies. Get the guts to clean them all out, then use all that money and energy to help the people live better lives. We can do better than War 3. Mind your own business. Live and let live. War is the #1 industry on the planet. Imagine if we had used all that energy on the positive progress of humanity. About 30 years ago, I bought a world anthology of all the events ever in human history. It was a 1,000+ page book, 3 columns per page, very small font. I resolved to go through the entire thing to get a feel for what the spirit of the human race is. It's disgusting and evil. There is a lot more war than good deeds. You just have to read the Old Testament of the Bible or listen to it like I did on YouTube to know that lots of groups of people seem to want to unite then fight another group in order to get something for nothing. They want to plunder the other group's stuff, but they never count on all the losses and misery they suffer. There are many cases in the Bible where one group totally annihilates the other. When Moses came down from the mountain, he ordered all the infidels killed. All the citizens of Jericho were killed, every man, woman and child. The Jews beat the Philistines, killing all of them. These are just a few cases. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah with some kind of massive bomb. I think that most people want to live peaceful lives, but they get sucked into fighting wars by a couple of loudmouths who have got something to gain, so they try to appeal to a sense of patriotism, religion, or loyalty, but it's all a lie. The history of war is based on the lies of a few evil people to goad others into fighting for them. In all fairness, war also has to do with poverty, indoctrination, unemployment, ego, machismo, and the promise of riches. It's relatively easy to get young men believing that there is something adventurous and noble about war. War seems fun and exciting to naive people, but then when they see all the death and destruction, they get shell-shocked, what we now call post-traumatic stress syndrome. There are no real winners in war except for the total psychopathic heartless people who don't care about the losses, pain, and suffering their side incurs as long as they personally come out ahead. In every war ever fought, both sides suffered incredible damage, pain, and losses, but the few at the top don't seem to care if they or their family are not personally injured. That's almost always the case. The people who start wars and their friends don't fight them. They use their propaganda machine to get others to do their dirty work for them. They say they're fighting terrorism or fighting for freedom and democracy. If you're not a bully or a terrorist, in this day and age, it's very rare for a country to attack another country unprovoked except for the few big bully countries. If you don't want terrorism, don't be one. Do you ever hear about terrorists attacking Jamaica, Costa Rica, Peru, or Ghana? They don't send military troops to foreign lands looking for trouble. Manifest destiny is a pleasant-sounding synonym for evil imperialism. In 1845, the idea was published in a magazine that America had the right, given by God, to spread freedom and democracy across North America by expanding their land holdings. This idea has been expanded by some to go out into the world to do the same. They started with Mexico, then the Philippines, Spain, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, sugar, Central America, and China for Standard Oil according to Major General Butler Smedley. There were 2 world wars. The CIA was created in 1947 by a couple of ex-war intelligence guys who decided to go rogue, and they did. The CIA is totally illegal and out of control. All hell broke loose. Publicly we know about Korea and Vietnam, but they tampered with many countries that we rarely hear about in the history books. Read some of Russ Baker's stuff. Look at George W. Bush. He got out of the Vietnam War draft because his old man was a big shot. He started a war in Afghanistan and Iraq for his own ego's sake to finish off what his old man didn't. Then after about 1 million people were killed, he made jokes at the annual National Press Club saying those weapons of mass destruction must be somewhere. Obama made jokes about young men trying to date his daughters. He said he has predator drones, implying he'll take them out as he said they won't even know what hit them. That was his punchline at his National Press Club speech. The people in the audience laughed. Over 58,000 Americans were killed in the Vietnam War. Now the Americans and Vietnamese are cozying up together because they have a common enemy in China. Those 58,000 lives mean nothing to those politicians, generals, and war merchants who promoted the war. This games of real-life chess never ends among the elitists. Look at Guatemala and Iran. The United States CIA and military agents got rid of democratically elected guys who tried to help the people in order to replace them with their own hand-picked dictators. They tried to take Cuba, but some people think the CIA and the military wanted to punish JFK because he was anti-CIA, so they didn't take out Castro's 3 jet fighters which he used to beat down those Bay of Pig invaders. It was a setup meant to embarrass John F. Kennedy to try to get rid of him. Reagan had the Grenada and Panama invasions. Haiti was another disaster where they got rid of an elected leader Jean-Bertrand Aristide in order to put a military government in. Aristide blamed it on the Americans. I go to the YouTube channel Al Jazeera to see what is going on in Palestine. Maxigan of the Crowhouse at Vigilante.tv made some videos of war atrocities. The CIA plan is always the same according to the confessions of an economic hitman. Ronald Bernard, the ex-satanic banker, said the same thing. First they go into a country offering the head guy or girl to get rich if he or she allows their companies in to build up the infrastructure and plunder the natural resources, thus making loans to the country. If the head person refuses, they take him or her out, cause turbulence, calling him or her a communist, then put the next person in who will be their puppet, usually a dictator, since dictatorships are much easier to manage than democracies. According to John Stockwell, ex-CIA whistleblower, they would try to push a normal democracy so much with atrocities that this government would go to the Russians or some other left-wing country looking for weapons and help, whereupon the American government would have the justification to point at them and say they're a bunch of low-life communists trying to disrupt society. They would look for minorities and disgruntled groups, give them weapons and money and get them to do violence and cause trouble in the country. Imagine if we had used all the energy we use for war to help the human race. We would be living in a good world by now with healthcare and rights for all. If we, the people of the world, used the energy and money we spend on the military to uplift the human race, we would live on a prosperous, enlightened planet where everybody would have a modestly comfortable house with enough food and medicine every day, but we don't. We live in a disgusting world because a few elitists want more power and money for themselves. That's it. The only people who want war are the few who make money from it. We, the people, should unite, surround our federal government building and force the creation of a website called something like peoplepower.gov where we control the government through online voting. We vote the military and security budget down to almost nothing, to just a small force to be ready in case there's an emergency within our own borders. We never send military forces beyond our own borders ever again. We can do better than war for. War is bad because lots of innocent people die. Lots of property and infrastructure is destroyed. Lots of human intelligence and creativity is used to create destructive things for the military rather on things that help people live better lives. Lots of naive young men sign up or get drafted into war thinking they are fighting for patriotism, freedom, and liberty, and many will get killed and maimed, not to mention straight mental illness, before enlightenment ever kicks in. The enlightenment is that war is always created by a few ruling rich people who decide either for ego's sake or to get more power and money to start a war. Very few wars are ever fought because someone has invaded your land where you live and you have to fight back to kick them out. Most wars are fought far away from where the players live. Bankers, military product manufacturers, oil companies, and logistics/delivery transport companies all profit from wars by doing business with both sides. Wars always end with lots of dead people and property destruction. A few politicians get more power. A few business people get rich. A year or two later all is forgotten while the profiteers make off with their gains, and that's it until the next war. Dead people are dead. All that human potential of lost young people is forever gone. They can't speak for themselves. The world forgets them very quickly. A defense department as in Canada is a waste of money, seeing that Canada has never been attacked, but in order to justify their existence they go on patrols all over the world with NATO, which was originally started in 1949 to battle the phony Cold War, which was a marketing term created by an advertising guy to sell the fear of communism. As a result of Canadian military forces poking their noses into other people's affairs, some Muslim groups have stated that Canada is on their list of enemy imperialist nations, so we now have an organization called CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, that we don't need because we're a nation of basic people who have to work hard for at least 6 months of every year to get through cold winters, but they make a big show and use undercover informants to entrap a few kids pretending to be anti-government freedom fighters, so they act like they're a major necessary force to fight terrorists. The truth is that we don't need a military force or a national security service. We have no natural enemies. Nobody wants to attack our massive cold land. They could never take our spirits over. We are too independent-minded. We could be like Costa Rica, a peaceful nation without a military force that nobody has a beef with. Instead, our politicians and warmongers have positioned us as allies of the two biggest imperialist countries in the world, the United States and Britain. The motive for almost all wars are for the few people who start them to make money. That's the whole deal. Follow the money. Who profits from war? They're the evil people that have indirectly or directly caused all those headstones at Arlington Cemetery and all those cemeteries near the beaches of Normandy. I'm not certain about how entrenched the supernatural forces of evil are in the world, but I wonder if some of these battles and wars are direct sacrifices by Satanist practitioners who send soldiers to be slaughtered as a part of some kind of satanic ritual. As I talk about elsewhere, D-Day was the stupidest way to establish a foothold in Europe at the one place where the German army was its strongest. They had 100 other ways to get into Europe, each of which was a lot safer. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. Everybody else suffers. War is a proposed theft by a bully saying I want something that you got, usually land, but sometimes it's just jealousy. Many people get PTSD and grief over the loss of loved ones after any war, while the politicians and military generals quickly settle down to playing chess with the world, taking sides, making alliances, starting wars all over again. It will not end until many brave nations get rid of their military forces and get to work helping people, publicly refusing to get involved in any wars again. The wars goes on and on. I saw some 1970 footage of Donald Rumsfeld hyping up the war during the Nixon era, then I see him 35 years later doing the exact same thing, saying the exact same stuff. The military creates jobs, but they're all useless jobs that add nothing to the positive progress of humanity. It's a total waste. We could have an ultra-modern infrastructure everywhere with housing and food for everyone easily. Instead, we waste money creating useless weapons, bombs, and guns. Politicians want wars as a way to give them public glory. Business people stand beside them, egging them on to start them. Who stands to profit from war joins the war supporters, and together they start wars. At the end, they will be richer. Many people will die, but the elitists will never see the blood or the destruction. They will go on living comfortable lives. Aside from the death in a war, everybody in a nation is stuck paying taxes to help fund it. They are stuck with shortages of products that go to support the war. They are also stuck with an industrial scientific infrastructure that wastes its energy on military production, not thinking up and producing things for the good of mankind. Then there are all the propaganda lies in the media. Half of the people fall for it. They become alienated from the enlightened people who know it's a big pile of crap geared to make a few people a lot of money at the expense of the many. War divides people who would otherwise coexist peacefully. War causes economic depressions because during wartime, the industrial infrastructure is focused on building war machinery. Then when the war ends, suddenly there is no industrial infrastructure for consumer goods, while many returning soldiers have no jobs available to them. All that leftover military junk goes to salvage, while you, the sucker taxpayer, paid full price for it. Let the people decide whether they should go to war, in particular the people who will probably fight in such a war, the 18 to 34 demographic. Let them vote on whether they want their nation to go to war, not the old fogies who will make money off it. If a country has a military force, they must make an unbreakable rule that it is for defense only within their own national borders. They never fight in a foreign land ever, or never do maneuvers in foreign lands to intimidate and show off to foreigners, as in the economic blockade of Japan by the United States in the 1930s. Japan was an American ally in WW1, but they refused to share the booty at the Treaty of Versailles, then persuaded Britain to alienate Japan. They left Japan alone, surrounded by a sea of imperialistic forces. If America had stayed out of Asian waters and affairs, the Japanese would never have attacked Pearl Harbor. theamericancause.org/patwhydidjapan.htm right parenthesis. Nations must not ever send military forces beyond their own borders if they don't want war. If politicians vote for war, they should be conscripted for military service by law. All military suppliers must sell all products at cost plus 3% by law during the war, so they do their patriotic duty to serve their country by not profiting excessively from war. These two things will never happen. That's why the structure of government has to change to where the people have the power online, not phone representatives who only represent themselves. We can't trust politicians or the media. We need a new form of government. The state of technology is at a level such that wars can easily destroy much of the human race. Along with nuclear bombs, they have chemical and biological bombs, weather-altering technology, and even some kind of death rays that can be shot out of satellites to zap a whole bunch of us. These rays are called directed energy technologies and could be things like lasers, radio frequency energy beams, holography, interferometry, electromagnetic radiation, radio waves, sound waves, radar, miniature electronic robots, smart dust, etc. In general, they cannot be seen by normal vision. The people have to get the guts to unite to overthrow these warmongers who rule the world right now. An enlightened human race would not only be peaceful but would be so productive and positive that it would provide a guaranteed modest living for everyone, meaning the government or the consensus of people would provide everyone with a modest house and a monthly income that would provide food and the basics. Instead we got this mess. Most of the weapons are made in the United States and Britain. Shut them down, get them to build productive things, not destructive things.